In the final weeks of the harsh winter of 2024, while most of the United States was distracted by headlines, politics, and the comforting routines of everyday life, a different kind of cold swept through the silent arteries of the internet. It began, as many disasters do, go unnoticed. Perhaps in a government operations center, a tired network engineer squinted at a line of code. An anomaly, just a blip, a misfire in an authentication log. He chalked it up to user error, maybe a software hiccup. But the anomaly returned, and again. Each time, it was buried beneath thousands of routine events, lost in the static of daily digital noise. Yet, in the blinking lights and whirring servers of America's critical infrastructure, something unprecedented was unfolding. By the time the dots connected, the unthinkable was clear. The US government's digital defenses had been breached. But there was no headline-grabbing explosion, no ominous press conference. The breach began quietly, using weaknesses in a most trusted shield, the Ivanti VPN tunnel, a technology that promised to keep countless organizations safe. This is not just a tale about computer code. It's a story about trust that's shattered, about the relentless pace of cyber conflict, and about how a handful of flaws, 3 cases of zero-day vulnerabilities to be precise, became the keys to the kingdom for a relentless, shadowy hacking collective. In this world, VPNs can become faulty lines, and security becomes a synonym for uncertainty. On a gray December day, somewhere in a world of hidden faces and digital aliases, a threat actor known only to cybersecurity trackers as UNC 5221 begins their reconnaissance. They are no ordinary hackers. They are an elite collective, patient, methodical, quietly innovative. Their weapons are not explosives, but exploits, unseen, unpredictable. Their chosen battlefield, Ivanti's widely deployed VPN gateways. Devices meant to shield important data and facilitate secure remote work for thousands of federal agencies, hospitals, universities, and multinational corporations. The first fall they target is cataloged as CVE-2023-46805, a subtle, insidious bug in Ivanti's authentication code. To most, it means nothing, but for these digital ghosts, it is a lever. A point where the security model buckles under pressure. Here, the attackers can bypass authentication altogether, slipping past the front lines undetected. At 3:14 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the breach occurs. The cyber attackers move like ghosts, skipping through digital corridors, invisible even to those who guard them. No sirens, no flagged emails. Just a sudden, silent access to a web of accounts and resources meant to be off limits. But they are just getting started. Within hours, a second zero-day enters play. CVE-2024-21887, a command injection flaw. This enables the attackers to run system commands with high privilege, expanding their access further, turning one compromised machine into many. With these 2 exploits, all that once was locked now stands open. Yet, what sets the attack apart is not speed, but patience. For 12 days, the attackers remained quiet. They move laterally, mapping every inch of the digital terrain. Credentials are gathered, confidential emails quietly exfiltrated, blueprints, research databases, security camera feeds, all siphoned through encrypted channels, hidden among normal traffic, vanishing into the depths of the internet. No ransomware note appears on the screen. No demands are made. Only the silent, systematic theft of secrets. If cyber attacks are storms, most pass quickly. This one lingers. The attackers do not simply enter, grab, and leave. Instead, they strive for persistence, to remain hidden, to outlive their victim's response. For this, they employ a custom malware toolkit, soon to be infamous among network defenders. Spawn Chimera. Spawn Chimera is more than a piece of malicious code. It is a digital ecosystem, constantly evolving, modular, and resilient. SpawnIt is the tool of conquest. It hijacks legitimate processes, allowing attackers to blend in. SpawnMole tunnels through firewalls, communicating with external servers through encrypted traffic that looks to an untrained observer like ordinary work. SpawnSloth is the eraser, the cleaner. After a breach, it scrubs logs, deletes traces, and overwrites forensic clues. If a system administrator comes looking, they find nothing but silence. But the most chilling power of Spawn Chimera lies not in what it does, but in what it survives. When frantic IT teams attempt to remediate, patching, rebooting, even factory resetting their Ivanti devices, they find the compromise persists. Why? Because part of the malware hides in firmware, the low-level software rarely inspected by defenders. Like a parasite in the bones, it survives, purges, returning each time the system wakes. Months later, analysts will discover fragments of this code lurking in backup images, in dormant hardware, in the dark corners of devices thought clean. They didn't just breach the gates, they rebuilt them in their own image. Quoted from an incident report in 2025, UNC 5221, through careful study, has learned not only how to enter, but how to remain. Each device infected is a puppet, ready to be activated at the attacker's whim. In the quiet of February 1st, 2024, deep within a secure government facility, the cybersecurity analyst at CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, begin to connect the dots. A puzzling pattern of anomalous traffic, initially dismissed as false alarms, now points inward to their own infrastructure. A wave of realization crashes through the room. Multiple CISA systems are compromised. One of the breached systems, the Chemical Security Assessment Tool, is intended to track and protect against chemical threats across the United States. A sensitive repository now potentially exposed. In the span of hours, panic ripples outward from CISA to the National Security Council, from one affected agency to the other. By 11:47 p.m., an unprecedented order is broadcast across federal networks. Disconnect all Ivanti VPN devices within 48 hours. The consequences are immediate and far-reaching. Hospitals lose their secure patient portals. Air traffic controllers shift suddenly to manual emergency procedures. University research teams are locked out of their own data, scrambling to re-establish secure channels. Meanwhile, at major corporations and infrastructure providers, staff work through the night, manually tracking devices, patching software, and hunting for evidence of compromise. Only to discover that detection and cleanup are anything but straightforward. UNC 5221, as if anticipating the coordinated response, launches a final phase, activating CVE-2024-21893, a server-side request forgery vulnerability that bypasses even the latest mitigations. As tens of thousands of Ivanti appliances worldwide go dark, the attackers do not disappear. They simply shift to dormant mode, with backdoors remaining in place, awaiting new orders or a fresh wave of victims. News media quickly draws comparisons to the infamous SolarWinds breach of 2020, when attackers leveraged a trusted software update to infiltrate government and corporate networks worldwide. But the seasoned analysts know this is something different. SolarWinds was an inside job, poisoned supply chain cleverly disguised. The Ivanti breach is a siege, a relentless, multi-phased campaign against the very walls that protect the digital city from chaos. While SolarWinds was about stealth, Ivanti is about occupation. UNC 5221 doesn't just extract information. By weaponizing the VPNs, devices everyone depends on, they turn every legitimate user's login into a potential point of expansion for their campaign. A government administrator, logging in from home on a cold morning, unknowingly carries the infection deeper with each new connection. Senior CISA analyst in a confidential briefing mentioned, this wasn't just hacking. This was cyber conscription. Each endpoint, each user, drafted into service for the attacker's cause. The attacker's persistence breaks the old playbook. It's no longer enough for defenders to patch and move on. Systems that were reset are reinfected. Networks shorn of their defenses see old infections resurface. Security teams feel as though they're fighting a hydra. Cut off one head and two more emerge. To understand the scope, one must look under the hood. The attack chain begins with reconnaissance. UNC 5221 scans the globe for Ivanti VPNs. There are over 22,000 such devices online, scattered from government agencies to hospitals, banks, universities, and energy providers. Once a vulnerable device is found, the attackers exploit CVE-2023-46805 to bypass authentication, and then CVE-2024-21887 to execute arbitrary commands. With minimal evidence, a foothold is established. But what makes this campaign so devastating is the chaining of vulnerabilities, gaining initial access, then immediately escalating privileges and moving laterally through the internal network. Encrypted command and control channels are set up, blending malicious traffic with legitimate business data. SpawnAnt hijacks trusted services, tricking endpoint detection systems into a false sense of security. SpawnMole establishes persistence, creating hidden administrative users and backdoors at the system and application level. SpawnSloth is deployed to erase forensic artifacts, further confounding post-incident investigations. Even when organizations follow best practices, deploying patches as soon as vendors release them, they find themselves racing against an adversary who is already inside. Assume breach shifts from a warning to an operating principle. While technical teams labor in data centers, the human toll mounts. In Missouri, a power plant engineer receives a ransom demand, paying cryptocurrency or lose control of the grid. In Texas, a biomedical researcher discovers confidential vaccine research leaked onto the dark net. Her years of work now in the hands of criminals. At a university in California, a frustrated IT director admits defeat. No matter how fast we patched, they were already there. For every agency, contractor, and hospital impacted, the story is the same. Hasty responses, sleepless nights, and the chilling realization that cyber risk is an existential risk. Across the US, 5,000 plus Ivanti gateways remain vulnerable even after the emergency order. Private sector companies, fearful of downtime, delay patching. Some never patch at all. As the numbers climb, 3,700 contractor accounts are compromised. Over $220 million in emergency mitigation costs. The scope of the breach becomes clear. America's digital immune system has been suppressed, and the attackers are not just after data, but control itself. By late March, the initial shock begins to fade, but the true work is only beginning. Incident response teams sweep through thousands of networks, tracing the footprints of UNC 5221. Each investigation turns up new surprises: backdoors and backup firmware, privileged user accounts created months before the breach, encrypted traffic logs dating back to the earliest days of the attack. The headlines move on. The public sees only numbers and cost, not the daily grind of cleanup and recovery. In a high-rise in Washington, a weary analyst pores over log files late into the night, cataloging every command the attackers ran, every byte exfiltrated. At a rural hospital, staff wait anxiously as an old VPN appliance is finally replaced. Weeks of disruption, countless dollars, and the unending fear that something, somewhere, may have been missed. In the shadows, UNC 5221 and groups like them are already preparing for the next campaign, leveraging lessons learned and refining their toolkit. For every network that is secured, 2 more remain exposed. Shadow Server's April 2025 scan is a chilling testament. Over 16,000 Ivanti devices still reachable, most unpatched, many unmonitored. Complacency, it seems, is more persistent than any malware. Patching is disruptive. Legacy systems are complicated, critical, and often irreplaceable. In boardrooms and IT offices, decisions are made. We'll patch next quarter. Let's not risk downtime. It probably won't happen to us. But defenders know the truth. For every vulnerability fixed, there are more yet undiscovered. Each month, new CVEs are released. Each patch is a temporary reprieve, never a lasting victory. The question is no longer if another Ivanti awaits, it is only a matter of when and how prepared we are for the next breach. As you listen, out there in the digital mist, over 14,000 Ivanti VPN gateways remain online, according to the latest public scans. More than 3,600 remain unpatched, open to the tactics UNC 5221 pioneered. To this day, UNC 5221's origins remain shrouded. Why? Their infrastructure, encrypted command servers, bulletproof hosting networks, and credentials stolen from legitimate users, creates a hall of mirrors. Even the most advanced analysts struggle to separate truth from misdirection. They are ghosts in the machine, proving that in cyber conflict, anonymity is the ultimate weapon. The VPN gateway, the very device we trust to protect our most sensitive conversations, our work, our medicine, our energy, is now a reminder that security can never be assumed, only earned, and always temporary. Cybersecurity is not a fixed battle. It is a living contest, a relentless contest, one where mistakes compound and vigilance must be endless. UNC 5221 did not win. They simply revealed just how thin the wall between order and chaos remains. So the next time you trust a digital lock, send an important email or click Remember Me at login, pause for a moment. Who else might be watching? Who else might be remembering with you? In the forever war of the internet, the price of convenience is eternal vigilance. But here's what you can do. Update your VPN firmware today. Ask your employer about patching cycles. Demand transparency about your organization's cyber hygiene. The lesson of this breach, like the code it exploited, will echo far into the uncertain future. But with action, we can ensure it's a warning, not a prophecy. If you enjoyed this video, show your support to the channel by leaving a like. And be sure to subscribe for more thrilling stories like the one you listened to today.